Barr,
Here.
Giovanini,
Here.
Eckhoff. Here. Callis.
Here.
Lee,
Here.
Hauser.
Yes.
Bradshaw. Cranford. Howard. Here. Lee, Willie,
Here.
sorry.
Relatives? Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. We have several items. Hopefully we've had a chance to read all of them. Any questions or
I would motion acceptance of the consent agenda.
motion by Kelly,
Second.
seconded by Barb? Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Bradshaw. Howard.
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Moving on to the regular agenda. Item A, the fall fest update. Mr. Ray is running to the stand to give us all those updates.
Good evening. Fall Fest is this Saturday at the Oaks from 3 to 6 p.m. Right now, the update we have is 35 trunk or treat vehicles participating. We were giving out 2 awards. We have a Mayor's Choice Award, and we also have a People's Choice Award for what they think is the most decorative, most festive. So, Mayor, whatever you choose to award one, we'll do that. So we have 4 craft vendors, 3 food vendors. We also have a facial massage vendor there this time. 4 inflatable games, a train that will go around, and 2 hayrack rides that people can hop on and ride. Jay Rodriguez will DJ for us, as always. And we have Ollie Farms Petting Zoo, sponsored by Soku this year. So we'll have some animals out there. Star-struck characters. So we'll have Paw Patrol characters, Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and Peppa Pig will be out there for the young ones. We'll have a balloon artist, Matt Scherer, and he will, at the end of the evening at 5:30, do a magic show for us. And we have some games that we'll do. That our staff is going to have pumpkin bowling, pumpkin toss games, and some other festive games that they'll do that evening. So, law enforcement class, Jack Bristow's got his kids lined up to control the parking and set all that up for us. And we're expecting about 2,000 to 2,500 to attend that day. So, any questions on Fall Fest? Should be a great day.
Forecast looks awesome.
Yeah.
The weather, it looked very good after that day.
Should be a really good day.
I assume while you're up here, you're going to talk about Rec Club Playground first.
Yes, give me 1 second to get everything set up here. Andrew had me set up this afternoon, and now no. Maybe I should talk about a top purchase. I don't know, it shouldn't be. That might have been it.
Do it too old-fashioned way, get the board out and the pen. Is it on a drive or is it on the computer?
I have it, well, my drive I don't have with me. Okay, here we go. Okay, well, this is coming up. In your packet, you have a proposal from Cunningham and Game Time Recreation. The playground equipment at the Recplex is probably one of our older ones that we have. Okay. And so we've had some things break on it that come up missing. Hit my PowerPoint. Oh, yeah. And so typically, like I said, it was, as I understand, it was installed back in '99 when the Recplex was created, so it has been around quite a few years. Yeah, we're getting there. Okay, so as you see on the slide, that's the current playground equipment we have out there. This was early on, because we have all the slides there. As we go through these, one of the things, well, the history of it, like I said, it was installed in 1999. Typical lifespan of playground equipment is 18 to 20 years. So this has been around 25 years, and it's beginning to show its age through all this. Here's some of the pieces. The stairs to nowhere. I was out there last week, and a dad was out there with his 3-year-old or 4-year-old daughter, and we were talking about different things. She goes, "Yeah, I love the stairs that go nowhere." And there used to be a slide there. It got broke, it got damaged, and it was too costly to repair. So that's one piece. We also have broken and missing interactive game pieces. I think this was a tic-tac-toe board piece that was just, again, never replaced. And knowing that the age of this, down the road, we were going to have to look at replacing the whole thing, so why put pieces in there. Some more signs of age, the wear and tear on the walking, the steps, the areas around to get in and around the playground equipment. Which brings us to my proposal of what we would look for a new one. This one here has interactive pieces, different levels to it. It has several different slides. It has a corkscrew slide down here on the bottom photo. It also has several pieces that you climb up on. It can accommodate in the less of a footprint than the one we have out there, but it accommodates a lot more kids in that playground equipment with the different levels that it has, and different climbing features and different play features that it has. A lot of it is similar to what you would see at the splash pad playground. It's got bongos, it's got the different levels that you can get to with that. So it's really interactive, and like I said, the piece that's out there is really living on borrowed time. It's went beyond its lifespan, pretty much, at least 5 years, if not longer. So this piece here, the actual equipment would be $46,000. We get a grant that will cover $38,584.32. So our actual cost for the equipment would be $46,838.39. That's a 46% discount with the grant, I think 46.5%. With your approval, we'd like to move forward. We can get that grant. It's good through the month of October. And so we have till pretty much the end of this month through this week to get approved for that grant. And then we can move forward with that and talk about the next piece of that would be the surfacing and installation, which is the second quote on there for $53,117, which would be the installation of the equipment and a surface of what's it called, the engineered wood fiber safety surfacing. They would put 12 inches of that to make sure that it doesn't compact down and that it's safe for kids if they fall or when they fall.
This would be, no, it's not in the budget, but we have 122,000 of ARPA funds that were programmed for park rehabilitation improvements. So it would have to come from there if it's approved.
How does this impact the pickleball money?
So where we're at, up at the Recplex, I mean, it could have an impact with that, but that's also in that TIF. And so we've held with what we expected to gain that we weren't planning on, we've held that amount out. So,
I don't know too much about playground equipment, and I did point out to Gary that there were some pieces missing earlier in the summer, but I'm a little perplexed by the dollar amount of this. And, I mean, I went and looked at what we have on Saturday. I was out there at ball game for my kids. I just don't understand why we can't make work what we have and make additions to that. It doesn't seem to me that it's in that bad a shape, but I'm certainly no expert on, life. I don't know that much about how playground equipment wears out or not.
Well, a lot of the equipment I noticed when I went out there, the rubber coating on all of them,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pulling out the metal under it is all rusted
Yeah.
out. It's not safe.
Do they still make the pieces that it's missing?
The slide, I know, it's hard to locate and find. You almost have to fabricate something for that. I believe that was the reason, that, and at the time, the cost on it was pretty extensive, so.
Did we
It's-
seek any bids from any other companies? I mean, typically, we try to get prices from more than one place when we're,
But I thought it was strange that even the grant said it's not over $75,000.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I haven't. We've worked with Cunningham Recreation for most of our, if not all of our playground equipment needs and stuff in the past, so they have this grant. I don't know of any others that do.
So Gary, kind of going on what Jerry said, it says here for the grant, it must exceed $75,000. Because I would have never guessed that, like, this would cost more than my first house.
Right.
But it appears that that's not uncommon.
Yeah.
Are they the only installation? Because then you got another $53,000 for installation. That's like one person's salary in our city.
Well, it's $6,000 free.
That's a lot of sliding.
This grant, when does it, never mind.
The end of
And
month.
it's only
Yes.
for that company.
It's only the end of this month.
Right.
Kind of a bait and switch.
Can we
Buy
get
our
more
product
information
and we'll
before we
give
make a
you-
decision, or are we just pressing for safety reasons, or?
The grant expires at the end of this month. And that's worth $38,000, $38,584.30. And if they're saying in here that it's gotta be $75,000, I mean, if it said $1 million, I'd be like, wow, right? But 75 sounds like that's par for the course.
And this grant is not a state or a federal grant. This is a grant that they've come up with. So it's
Yeah.
kind of a.
Just pricing.
It's kind of
Yeah.
a
It's just
rebate.
pricing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just put money
It's a
aside.
grant then, okay.
It's kind of a rebate. So if we didn't do this and we went and looked at someone else and we end up coming back, I'll bet that grant magically becomes available again.
It could, I don't know. I know they were really sticklers on, when it runs out, the money runs out. That they set aside so much dollars for that, and then they kind of look at proposals that they get and say, okay, let's rank them and go from there. So, again, that could be business tactic. I don't know.
Well, if you look at the dollar, I spend a lot of time out there this summer. All of the bleachers out there need to be redone. That's a safety issue. Well, everybody brings their lawn chairs, but, I took some pictures Saturday because there's things on the fencing that is loose, and, I mean, we have a lot of urgent, I believe, more safety needs than, you know, the kids are all playing on this all the time. There's a lot of action out there for sure, that, but I can't bite this.
Jim, you said this could come out of ARPA funds. I know I should know, but I don't. What are those?
The ARPA funds were the American Rescue Plan Act.
Okay.
And what, that we got, yep. So we have obligated, we've spent most of that ARPA money, if you recall, on ambulance startup when we began. And so we still have, we had obligated the 122,000 for parks, the generator at the rec center for 86,000, and then we had dedicated 85,000 for upgrading the outdoor emergency notification system, StarCom.
Timing-wise, none of this can happen until spring, right?
It could happen as soon as this fall if everything goes through and we get approval tonight and move forward with it. It could happen as quickly as this fall yet, could. Everything's weather dependent, but yeah. But most likely, safe bet would be spring.
And you don't have any figures on bleachers?
No, I know I've talked with Rick about those since, excuse me, since last spring, that we need to do something with those because those are certainly exposed, and we've talked about recovering those and doing some different options with that. So we've kind of tossed around a couple different ideas, but nothing's ever come to fruition with what we want to do as opposed to a total replacement, which we know would be costly. And most people, I mean, honestly, the bleachers get used more of a playground piece than people sitting in them for the most part, because people bring their own chairs, sit in the shade. Most of the bleachers aren't, but they still need to be available, so.
The game I was at, both
Yeah.
sets of bleachers were full of people.
Yeah, we have two, I think the biggest issues with the equipment that we have is this missing slide and trying to get, I don't know if we can get a slide that would go onto that piece that they would, I guess, certify that it's proper. And then the second part is, you know, we had built that ramp. That ramp kind of goes up to nowhere, right? You kind of go up there, and I mean, it goes to the platform, but that's as far as it goes. And so, otherwise, we can look at what we can come up with from other companies, as far as maybe even rehabbing what we have, if there is some sort of new coating or something you can put on it.
Doesn't even have to be a slide there.
Well, yeah, right, we would just have to
Exo?
come up with something to make it right.
Well, like
Get
you
us
said,
into the spring and then find out that this company is like, oh, we're gonna reintroduce this new, like Mike said, we're gonna introduce this new pricing thing. And
Right.
next thing you know,
I've worked on a few of these though before, and it all is expensive. I mean, I couldn't believe it, it really is.
Oh, yeah, I did a little searching last night, because I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, and it's one of the, like at the splash pad, had they, Game Time and their people not put in that equipment, we would have had a harder time. You know, we had those slide problems this year. That, yeah, and so they had told us that we couldn't even put in our own piece to raise it up, that it would just void everything, and if it were
Yeah.
to rip it.
If we alter that, it voids the warranty, and the
Yeah.
liability is fully on us, not on them then.
Right.
So this would have to be recertified then, if anything's done to it, what you're saying.
I mean, I think for them to, like, you would either have to become certified to install their equipment somehow, or, you know, if you went outside of that, you're gonna get a piece of equipment without a warranty, I'm guessing.
And if it's 25 years old, after 20, it's a hard time finding parts.
Right, yes, correct.
I mean, you could get, like on that slide that is missing the slide, that piece there, you could get maybe a bubble that just allows kids to stick their head in to look out, but there's not much interactive or play with that other than that.
But we'd have to come up with something other than plywood over the tic-tac-toe board.
Right.
Yeah, which we could.
Sounds like we may need to reevaluate this whole thing.
Well, there's more companies out there.
Yeah,
I mean,
obviously,
and
yeah.
maybe they're all gonna be the same prices. I mean, I know, I saw one at the IML, and it wasn't for game time, but I can't remember who. I just think they get us to buy their equipment and put their stuff, I mean, they're just,
Yeah. I think we'll need to go back to the drawing board a little bit, Gary.
I can get some more information,
Yeah.
get some comparisons, and see what we can come up with.
And I find out too, I mean, if they've got a list going and they're determining whether you're gonna do it, and if you're paying for it, you may not even get that discount.
Well, at this point, we are, I know, yeah, yeah,
We have to have
Yeah.
a motion.
But now you cannot do it.
Right.
What he's saying.
yeah.
Nobody's made a motion, nobody's made a motion, just discussion, so you can stop discussion.
Okay, let's move on from here. We'll table this to, for further investigation. Appreciate it, Gary.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good luck Saturday.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Housing study update. Kelly?
what I can report is that we are working on the postcard mailing that we're gonna send out to all the residential homes in residential addresses in the city of limits of Pontiac, that will have a link of information to completing, if they wish, not mandatory obviously, the community assessment needs survey. And that has a host of questions about what our residents believe our community needs. The link to the survey, they're recommending that we leave it open for 6 to 8 weeks. So that's a substantial amount of time to gather information. Hannah's also will be putting things out on all of our social media efforts, newsletters, whatnot, in addition to the postcard that's going out. The goal, I believe, is to get that printed sometime later this week and try to get it distributed next week.
Okay. Well,
So
it's
that's
a
what I know.
step-by-step process.
Yeah,
so-
that's what I know so far. And then, yeah, we don't have our next meeting till November. We're working on trying to get a field trip going to Paris, Illinois, but we're having a hard time getting any of their representatives to respond that they would be able to meet with us when we go. They are a little bit smaller community, but they don't have much of a city hall, so it's hard to get
Okay.
get anybody. He's left messages, emails last week, and so
Okay.
we'll keep working on that.
Kelly,
Okay.
there's, Deb Howard, you might know as well. There is a social service agency, and I want to say it's Mid-Central Community Action, that also does a community needs assessment. And I think they do it every year. Deb, do you know if that's Mid-Central Community Action? Are they the ones who do it?
Central, Livingston County Health Department just completed theirs. I was in
Yeah.
a meeting this morning about the outcome of theirs, and OSF as well. Theirs is complete.
Okay.
I haven't heard the results of OSF yet, but theirs is just got completed as well.
And those are pretty comprehensive assessments. For the information, it might be helpful, just not that those
Just to
questions
have
are the
it.
same questions
Yeah.
we're gonna ask,
Yeah.
but to kind of look at it and sort of do a meta-analysis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can email you the results of the.
okay.
or,
And I mean, we can just pass it
Yeah.
on to Amy, and she'd be the.
Mid-Central Community Action does focus a lot on housing. That is really their main focus. So you're gonna get a lot of good information from their community needs assessment.
Okay.
So I was at a board meeting for Heritage Quarter Destinations over the past week, and we had some time on our hands. So I was sitting with the mayor of Ottawa and the mayor of Lombard, and they each did the IHDA IDA program. And I mentioned that we were trying to put together a trip for Paris, and each of them suggested that if it didn't work, they would welcome
Come
us
there.
coming there,
Okay.
yeah.
Sounds like progress is on the offing, and we all know it's a step-by-step,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, glad for the update.
The moon moves faster.
We need to move on, so let's get to the topographical survey of Madison Street project. I see Brian is heading up to the podium to update us.
If you recall, a few months ago, we submitted a grant request for Madison Street and that corridor, and kind of re-envisioning that corridor with some different ADA upgrades, and haven't really decided what all, but to redevelop that corridor. We have not heard back on the grant yet, but if we do get the grant, we need to move quickly. And we've decided, or not decided, we've talked as a staff that even if we do not get the grant, there are things that need to be accomplished there, specifically some ADA and some other things that have been out there for a while that need to be done. So as a result, we want to be ready. So we requested a proposal from Chamlin Associates to do the topographic survey on that corridor. They sent back their proposal, and they would do the work that's been requested for $24,400. That would basically be right-of-way to right-of-way, picking up utilities, all the features that are out there, and feel that this would be within a acceptable level, and I would recommend approval of Chamlin Associates to do that work.
I think we're more than ready to get the ball moving. And this is kind of like step one to get us to the final destination, so.
I motion
Yeah.
acceptance of the proposal.
Seconded.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by John Willie. Roll call, please.
Giovanini,
No.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Callis,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
Thank you. Brian, you're still on the hot seat.
Yeah, staying in the downtown area, Centennial Plaza, as we've developed, work through that plan. I think there's some more information about that with PAG Architects later. But we're also, time is of the essence in this project as well. We have reached out to the Farnsworth Group to provide a proposal to do topographic survey in that location also. It would encompass a part of Main Street, the parking area back behind the museum, and the alleyway there. Farnsworth has presented a proposal to us. They would do the work that we have requested for the amount of $6,900 in that area. We feel that that would be appropriate to award that work to them at this time.
Any other questions for Brian on this? This again is part and parcel of the ultimate plan, which we've gone through several times. So. Yeah. Motion by Jerry, seconded by Jason. Roll call, please.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini.
Yes.
And Brian?
Jim, do you want?
Sure. The next item is the owner-architect agreement for PGAV. As you recall, we set the budget of 1.5 million. And if you look, their budget came out about $16,000 over the 1.5 million, which we determined like that a lot of that was in building permits, which we won't be paying anyway. So we come out the same. But because their budget was over, and I wanted to bring this back to the council so you were aware of what that was. And so this owner-architect agreement will go through the design, construction design, and then they have a number of inspections set during the construction period. So this would be our standard agreement we're gonna need to proceed further to begin.
That we're confident it will stay below our anticipated budget.
Yeah, and then I also wanted to mention too that they did mention, Frank, if you come up with something, they'd be happy to look at it, work with it, and stamp it if necessary.
Well, I just think the structure that they're
Yep.
proposing is complicated. I don't like the looks of it compared to the rest of the downtown. And I've done that before. Not with them, but with other groups.
Well, your input would be appreciated, I'm more than sure. So, by us, and so whatever you can come up with and coordinate with them, we want to
Okay.
make sure.
Okay, if you were looking at the page with the yellow markings that has the budget numbers on there, the very bottom, it's small, but they have 1,516,192. That's what they have.
Oh, yeah, right,
You need
yeah.
magnifying glass to read it.
The fine print, yes.
So you need a motion to accept?
Yes,
Yes.
correct, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Okay. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Callis,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Joe Vanini,
Yes,
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Now we need soil boring proposal.
Yes, this is also for Centennial Plaza. Because of the canopy and the foundation system that would be designed for that, we need to know what kind of soils we're dealing with, and also for any pavement that would be done back there. So PGAV has requested 4 soil borings, 2 to a shallower depth for pavement analysis and design recommendations, and 2 to be a deeper boring so that we could determine the soil characteristics for the foundation systems of that canopy. So for those 4 borings, we reached out to Midwest Engineering and Testing Incorporated. They have provided a proposal here for $3,996 to complete those borings, do the necessary laboratory testing, and the reports. I would recommend approval of Midwest Engineering and Testing Incorporated to do this work.
how big are those boring holes?
They're pretty small. I don't remember what diameter they are. Yeah.
No phone?
I don't know what they propose, it should be a proposal.
Yeah, let's see.
Oh, that's not you.
No.
No.
Sorry.
What was his question?
I'm not seeing it offhand how.
I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it offhand.
What's the time frame on doing the borings?
When I received this back last week, they said they were scheduling work the week of November 4th.
Oh,
So by the time we get back to them, probably mid-November, by the time they would come up and do the work.
okay. Well, again, preparatory work to get to the final project, so. And the number doesn't sound terrible as far as
No.
the work that's being done. So we need a motion to approve.
Acceptance of that from Midwest.
Question, Frank?
No, I'll move acceptance of it.
Oh, okay. Motion by Frank, second by Kelly. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Joe Vanini,
Yes,
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Callis.
Yes.
Right, could I ask one question? It's kind of related but unrelated. Have you given a lot of thought how you're gonna move that bus?
That's a Chris question, I think.
Carefully. Tow truck, I'm not sure. Probably more where we're gonna store it while we do the work.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a good thought. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. All right, moving on. Item H, amendment to salary schedule. Jim would love to talk on that.
Yeah, so as a result of the police contract, there was a need to make an adjustment to the assistant police chief's salary. And so I'm proposing moving that. Currently, he's in 93.5, and which puts his base salary below some of the, one of the sergeants at least, who's at 96.2. And my proposal was to move his salary to 99.
So moved.
Which seems more than fair. Okay, motion by Kelly, seconded by Jason, I believe. Roll call, please.
Croucher?
Yes.
Bradshaw?
Yes.
Howard?
Yes.
Willie?
Yes.
Barr?
Yes.
Joe Vanini?
Yes.
Eckhoff?
Yes.
Callis?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, ordinance 2024-024, a variance for the Wendy's sign height. Greg is just chomping at the bit to get up here and tell us about this.
Eager. So this is born out of our zoning meeting last Monday. The Wendy's, under new ownership, they did their remodel, and then their sign, they have their highway sign that's visible from the highway, but their road sign that's nearer to the road is actually it's kind of sunken, and it's not as visible as they would like it to be. So they requested, and the zoning board proposed that acceptance of a variance to allow for that sign to be raised 10 foot. And out the visual of what that sign would look like.
Seems that many are asking for that. Other companies have changed their signs. I see the lumber company across the way.
There's one that's coming, right?
Yeah. And it's obviously because of the interstate.
More visibility. Well, actually, those are two separate issues. This Wendy's one, their interstate sign exists. And they are allowed to have that because they're in the B3 zoning. When we get to the RP lumber one, they're in a different zoning, and so they're asking, can I do what Wendy's has with the sign? This one is Wendy's wants more visibility for their main sign.
What does the zoning call for as maximum height?
18 foot.
18, yeah.
18.
Yeah, it's pretty low.
It's low.
So, I know that we also have the rule that it can't be, like with the setback, you gotta have so much setback from the road.
Enough for it to fall, yes, ma'am.
Right. This is not because of that it needs a variance. It's just because of the 18 foot.
It's a hard height cap at 18 foot, yes, ma'am.
How hard is it to change our rules?
It's an easy process. If you want to change the rules, you would need to amend the code, and typically would have a public hearing before the zoning board to recommend whether the code gets amended or not, and then you pass an ordinance. That's how you change the code. And part of the problem is, so much of these signs over the years, the ones that have been around like Bill for a long, long time, depends on the business and their location and their visibility requirements. So not everybody's the same. And if you pass the blanket rule, then everybody in that particular zoning would have that 28 height, even if it's not on, you'd have to limit it to interstate areas or within so many feet of the interstate or whatever. But it's doable if you think the thing is too low. This makes it a case by case.
So if we wanted to change the ordinance in order to not make it the same in places where it wouldn't
You would
work,
have
be
to
very
say,
specific on how
you'd have to
divide it.
bifurcate it and say B3 in the interstate corridor would be one height, and B3 in other parts of the community might be another height. We got B3, that's not on the interstate.
Correct.
Just put in there because of visibility issues. Because not every sign, like Wendy's, by the interstate where the exit comes down, you come up to go to Wally, you don't really see them because their signs
And I think they're viewed as the unfavored corner because of the traffic going to Wally's, everything's going right, so.
It's a left hand.
They want people to see them and say, hey, we're here, we can feed you. I do get that, and 28 foot sounds tall, but in the real world, 28 foot doesn't look necessary. I don't know what Dale's of the Dairy Queen is, but it's probably pushing 28. It's probably in the 20s.
If I had to guess, I'd say, yeah, 24, something like that, yeah.
So I give you an idea what it looks like in a non-interstate area.
I think that corner sits a little lower than it does.
Sits low.
It is
on the
low.
side,
It
So that's
does.
why,
It's kind of in the ditch.
that's why at 18 feet, he's really
Yeah.
not visible.
It's almost behind you as you get on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't there trees out there too? that
They got some
hide it?
trees as well,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
But I agree with Jamie also, because as we start to develop out there, we're gonna have these onesie, twosies coming and asking for sign variances.
If you get that Deerfield corridor start to develop like the Bachnick property and that, you'll have lots of these requests. Because everybody wants to be as high or higher than the next guy.
But
Wanna
then
be
there's,
safe.
I mean, then there's the aesthetics of all of that is not very.
You've all been to big commercial areas when they're all over the place.
Yeah.
We'll wait.
But you could do it by zoning area or
Now,
area.
you can, we've got other things that we've defined in our zoning that's only in a certain area.
But
An
we-
example was like the solar farm setback on Route 23. That's just that area.
Right.
So that was a different rule. That was done by the council.
But we can do special use and make each case individual, which is pretty much what we've operated on for the last several years. And we have not approved every one of these requests. And businesses have thrived without the approval. In their case, it probably is more justified because of their specific location. So, but it's at our discretion if we're going to grant a special use. The zoning board said okay, so.
Technically, it's a variance on
Yeah,
height.
right.
And the variance requires some hardship to them, and the hardship is visibility or lack thereof.
So how do we, if we approve them and let them have a variance, how do we get that, so how do we make the next step to make the ordinance change?
If everybody feels that the 28 foot or 30 foot or something in that vicinity would be an appropriate time frame, you would just request that we put it on the agenda for the zoning board and publish the proposed amendment. So I would draft an ordinance that would propose it, they would take it and have a hearing on it, then they come back to you to approve. You'd want to give some guidance, just like any other zoning change that you institute. You know, you can't just pass it, you've got to let the zoning board have public hearing, people come in and say, hey, we don't like that, we think it's terrible, or we think it's great, so you can make an informed decision.
Can we put that process in with this vote, or is it?
I think it would be
I mean,
two separate, I
Two
think, you know,
separate
an
entities.
ordinance in front of you, and
It's a yes or no, and
it's,
then
if there's an indication that you want that to come back, it could be on the next council meeting's agenda.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to maybe talk to a couple of our neighboring communities and see what they've got for sign code. It's never a bad idea to reevaluate our code. I don't think we are under a particular heavy load of variance requests for sign heights,
Right.
but it's never a bad idea to
I
reevaluate
don't
our
want to
codes.
tell Wendy's no, I think that this is a good idea,
Yeah,
but I
there's-
think the best way to get rid of a bad rule is to enforce it. And, if what we have doesn't work, then we need to examine that.
And you can take an inventory of what's out there in approximate heights and have a pretty good idea of what's actually there, what's been approved in other cases. I mean, some of the signs, like, for instance, like Taco Bell, it's pretty tall because they're way off the interstate.
They've lowered some of those signs out there. because
Yeah, some of them have been lowered because of expense and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Then I wouldn't give a sign to, like, the baby pool building on the other side, because they're so visible, everyone sees them as they drive by.
Well, and the people on that side had the opportunity at the initial to participate and get on one of the lower parts of Wally's sign. And some of them declined to do that. And if they declined, we already knew we'd used up the sign space pretty much with the big Wally's sign. That's why we basically said you need to allow these other businesses the opportunity to be there. And they did that, they followed through. And obviously, they generated a lot of traffic for those other businesses.
So
So at this point,
They just need,
I'll make the motion that we
Okay.
accept
the
the variance.
variance.
Second.
Everybody wants to second it.
Okay.
Kelly, motion, Mike Barr, second.
I don't care.
He's out there a lot, so. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Callis,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Thank you.
you can't act, but you do want it as a discussion item next council meeting on the
Yes,
agenda?
please, I didn't know if I
Yeah.
should do that during council
Yep.
comments or now.
No, I mean, it's okay now, you're not taking action. Oh, you can talk about things, you
Yeah,
just
just
can't take
request
action. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2024-025, zoning district change for 719 West Cleary Street.
Yes. So that is currently owned by Dale Strock. It is adjacent east of the Dairy Queen. And Dale purchased that property just for some extra space for the Dairy Queen. He would now like to move a shed that's on the Dairy Queen lot over to that 719 West Cleary lot. And he cannot have that shed as an accessory structure with no primary structure on that lot. So he would
He's
like to.
also zoned residential instead of commercial. And he's not actually, Dale, I know him, obviously. And he's got Board of Education for the high school commitment tonight, so he would have been here. And he's actually putting a second shed for storage. The shed that's there in the corner of the property now
Northeast corner, right?
will stay there, your northeast corner, will stay there. But he wants to put a second shed, won't have a road going into it, but the way he described it at the zoning board was that he was gonna open a spot in his fence so people could walk, kids could walk, they could walk through the parking lot, go to the shed. He's just having room with a difficulty having enough bulk storage for, everything's bulky, you know,
Yeah.
cups, all that stuff is
Well, he
bulky
might save
stuff.
a little more if he's buying bigger bulk.
That way you can buy, if you get a good price, you can buy more in volume. And so there won't be any access coming off of the Clary Street.
So just to change.
They had a very similar, I copied this ordinance from the one that was done when he bought the other dilapidated house and tore it down, and expanded the parking lot and changed the drive-through so they weren't blocking Lattin Street every day. Yep. So
I'd move for passage of orders to 24.
And I'll second.
25.
Motion by Callis, seconded by Jason. Roll call, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Callis,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
I have a question for you, Dale, just curious. The property north of the Dairy Queen's, is that still for sale, I guess?
no, Dale actually bought that so he can mow it and clean it up. But he's not planning, it's not any of his official parking, so he's not paving, doing that, he's keeping the weeds down. And he thought it was good to protect his neighborhood. So he's bought, this house he tore down here now was the McDonald house. I think it was the one before the McDonald house. I think this was the McDonald. And it was, blue tarp on the roof and the whole thing. So this other one, he purchased, he put down, Frank was still on the city council when Dale put the first deposit on that lot. We closed it about a year ago, or 6 months ago. They couldn't get clear title.
Oh,
Frank was actually a realtor, and, Dale put a down payment down while Frank was still actively selling real estate.
wow. Well,
That he doesn't have any plans other than to maintain it as it is and keep the weeds down and stuff like
Is that the old car wash? Was
that. It
that
is the old car wash.
Velvet touch.
And all, the tanks are out of it, got a do not remediate letter, but it's bumpy, and you see trucks a lot of times will use that as truck parking, but it's not. Dale has no plans to improve it as paid parking or anything like that. He just wants to leave it as is, protect the neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we got through the agenda, and there is no executive session tonight. Thank you. Mayor's comments. I was going to wish Gary good luck Saturday on the events and fun that they're going to have out at the Oaks, and should be a great time and great enjoyment. I did get a inquiry from pickleball players here this past week. Basically, it was one of these, you're finally going to do something kind of things. And I says, well, we have plans, and we're moving forward with them, and they seemed happy, and hopefully, I told them that they asked when we were going to start our pickleball city tournaments, and I says, we have plans, we don't have dates, so I left it at that. Other than that, pretty quiet the last couple of weeks. I think Jim's had more excitement than most of us, so we're just looking forward to what we're going to be doing here this next week. And we have to remember that we have to vote here on the 4th, and the signs are out. I haven't heard any more damage being procrastinated about or anything, so remember to vote right now. Jim, you got a question?
Council before me.
Sorry. City Council.
I do have something I thought we ought to look at. I guess I was kind of astounded when I read through some emails here and some about the unemployment or homeless here in Pontiac. I had no idea there was that many people involved in some of the places that they're. What can we do, or is there anything we can do to look at other options?
Something we brought to the attention about that, also about those numbers too, Bill, is that the counting where that number comes from is a little bit skewed. Someone told me I could be wrong, it could be wrong.
Well, I think everybody probably read that letter. I mean,
Considered a certain, like you're sleeping on your parents' couch.
You're homeless.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, there are people that are still protected and have family, there are people that aren't. And the 187 number doesn't represent, it represents everyone. It doesn't represent just those people who are understood. I could be wrong, but that's what I was told.
but they're still possibly asking for services
Oh,
in
yeah,
some way.
definitely.
Yes.
The services are
So,
needed.
yeah.
I was just saying that, I don't.
And some refuse to ask for service. We've tried to help the ones living under the bridge a couple of years ago in the middle of the middle of January. And they refused to be moved to a homeless shelter like in Bloomington somewhere. I don't know if you remember that guy.
I do.
I remember Carol Flessner was still at the mental health board. She was very frustrated that trying to help somebody and couldn't help them.
Well, perhaps on our housing meeting next time, we can have it, an agenda item.
That should be part of the overall discussion,
Yeah,
yeah.
it should be.
Where we talk about some solutions we might be able to provide.
I think that you'd need to kind of know what are the roots of those causes. Is it that we don't have affordable housing? Is it that we don't have jobs that have a wage high enough to pay for affordable housing? Is that we have a high rate of people who have mental illness and they can't keep down jobs? And that they're not on SSDI? Like, where is this coming from? Because even if you have all the housing available, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're helping people.
And some of
I
the
mean, it's a-
people
it's a
that are out
separate
there
thing.
homeless, I know from housing authority contacts that there are people that have burned their bridges with like the housing authority and violated their rules, and that was their last resort for a place to live and lost their opportunity to live there.
I'm the one
Because
that sent it out, and that's why I came today. Partially, in case there were any questions, 5 years ago, I would have told you most of it's mental health issues, burned bridges, that type of thing. But that's not what's going on right now. That number I sent out was Thursday's number. As of today, we're up to 198 homeless people, 64 children, 65 women, and 69 men. The majority, we've been able to temporarily house about 140 of these temporary because they're at the Fiesta Motel, they're an Airbnb. We actually have about 17 people that are gonna be evicted come the end of the month because Salvation Army's out of money to house these people. So they're already in these numbers. They're homeless. We have them at the Fiesta, we have them, but they're out of money. They've spent the whole year's money. It's gone. Most of the problem is working people. Rents have gone really high, food is high, groceries are high. We've never seen this before. There are 3 people we're aware of that have mental health issues. 2 of them are living in the park. One's a lady, one's a man. We arranged for VA to come and get the man because he's a vet, and he refused to get in the car with them. They have homeless shelters for vets up in Chicago and down in Danville, whatever. Danville. And he refused to get in the car. Absolutely refused to get in the car. Those issues we can't do anything about. Most of what we're seeing are families, where mom works at Walmart, dad works at AutoZone. We started taking better results, and the health assessment that the health department did will show some of this. There's no affordable housing, no daycare. When you sit and you talk to your dad and mom who are living in a car with 3 kids, right now there are 5 families living in the Walmart parking lot. There's 1 living in the USDA parking lot. There's 2 behind Kmart. I didn't even realize there was a road behind Kmart, but somebody found them over the weekend. We have about 4 in the park, and there's 2 families squatting at the Palomar. If you drive out there about 11 o'clock at night, you'll see cars way in the back, and they sneak in those hotel rooms, and if you drive by about 6:30 in the morning, you'll see them cars pull out. So that's kind of where they're living. This is a Pontiac thing. Not everybody's from Pontiac, but the majority are Pontiac people. But part of the thing that came out is there's no daycare. And I have people come and sit in my office every day for help, and when mom's working at Walmart and dad's working at AutoZone, and I say Caterpillar's hiring, the prison's hiring, the answer always is, but we don't have any daycare. So mom's working after dad gets home from work. He doesn't want to blow an opportunity at Caterpillar or the prison because a kid was homesick and he's got to miss a day of work, especially in a 30 or 60 or 90-day trial situation. So there's that. Most of this is economy-driven and daycare-driven because if you work at Caterpillar, you can't be taking 15 days off a year because your wife also has a job. So everybody's working minimum wage jobs. Right now, the poverty level in Pontiac is the lowest it has been since 1940. We have an 11% poverty level rate. 90% of the money that comes into this county are federal grants that are for poverty level people. Right now with the Homeless Coalition, I got $5,000 sitting there that I probably won't use. You know why? There's no place for me to pay rent for people, and I can't use it for hotel stays. It's to get them into places to live. We've had a girl who's gonna have to leave. I don't know where she's gonna go. She's got 5 kids, but we can't pay her rent after the end of this month, so she's gonna have to go somewhere. We had her in a shelter in Ottawa last year in the winter. In Ottawa, they kicked the people out June 1st, and went on their own all summer, but then they let them back in. Ottawa, Peoria, and Bloomington, none of them will take our people at this point. Not a one. Not one person.
And when I work with families, you get somebody with several kids, they really have a hard time finding housing unless it's public housing. There aren't a whole lot of places to rent that have more than 2 or 3 bedrooms. And if you've got 5 kids, they're not taking you.
Yeah, and she's been on the list, this particular gal, who is gonna be homeless, again, well, she still is, but, she's been on the list at housing a year and 2 months, and she's been number 1 on the housing list for at least 6 months. And I called them today, because I got no place to put this girl with her kids. And they said, Deb, they have nobody giving them intent to move, and they have nobody that they can throw out right now.
And if they're a felon, that's not an option.
And she isn't offended, she's been paid.
Yeah, but no, they got huge backlogs. I know that from
We have
same
another
source.
one who's living in Fiesta. She's paying it herself. She's never come to us for help. She's come to us to help find a house. Another one with 5 kids, and she's at the Fiesta Motel. And getting on the list at housing, she can, but the other one's been on for over a year. And, I mean, neither one of them, she's gonna continue to pay her rent. She has an income, so she's paying her rent at the Fiesta.
Curious, what do they charge you? What is the cost for a room at the Fiesta?
Way too much, $260 a week.
It used to be about 9, if you paid by the month, this was, I'm talking 2020. If you paid by the month, it was about 9 something.
Yes,
For a
there's a
room,
Palomar
which was
one
funny,
down.
I had a woman, I was working with DCFS, and she had, I don't know how many kids, like 4 or 5. And she couldn't get an apartment to live in, but she could live in a hotel room, you know? And it was about 900.
$260 a week for a hotel room?
I remember one time somebody came in that I was collecting a thing for the city from, and he was at the Palomar, and he was paying then about $200 a week. And I was absolutely shocked that, I mean, you can rent Phoenix Apartments for that, or whatever. I mean, that,
$50 a night has been their going rate for quite a while. I'm confident that's accurate. What they do for the month, I don't know.
We've been putting people up at Airbnbs because it's actually cheaper than the Fiesta Motel. We can get Airbnbs cheaper than the Fiesta Motel.
Well, we're not gonna solve it overnight.
No, we're not gonna solve anything. I just wanted you to be aware of the numbers because we don't live it. If I didn't work for United Way, I wouldn't have a clue as to what's going on. We don't live it. It's not our people. You know, our kids aren't homeless. Our grandkids aren't homeless. And in, you know, like I said in what I sent out, you don't know what you don't know. I just want to give you information.
Yeah.
I know there isn't an answer.
Thanks, Deb. We appreciate the info.
Thank you.
As it goes, you know, part of the reasons for doing the housing study and everything is to answer some of these questions. But as we started out this program, it's not an overnighter, you know, so we have to work at it. I'm really surprised that places like Peoria and Bloomington, I know they have problems too, but to say that they won't take people from here, yeah, well,
Oh, yeah, Bloomington.
to an extent, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they just cleared out that Salvation lot downtown, and all those people had to go somewhere, and Home Sweet Home said they're full.
There was something here
Yeah.
about that, about how they moved into.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They really don't have a facility to do that.
What
Kelly?
is the occupancy rate?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Let Frank go. He's still
Okay.
on that subject.
Go ahead, Frank.
What is the occupancy rate of the apartments downtown?
So the places that have apartments are all full. And now there are some that, I've learned that they have like an apartment that's not rented, but it's because it needs renovations and work. So I haven't found any that are sitting empty. When we did our, I had to actually kind of go looking at that when
Door
we
to
did our
door.
mailing for our, TIF project, so.
No, we don't have any immigrants here, because I get that a lot. How many of us homeless people are immigrants? We don't have any. They're all our people from
Yeah.
Livingston County. The majority are Pontiac families, but there are, we've got a couple from Fairbury, and a couple from, one family from Forest, and a couple from Dwight, so it is a countywide issue.
Kelly, you had something?
I'm on a much happier note. I want to recognize Paul Miller. For those of you who don't know Paul retired from the Bank of Pontiac Trust Department, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And he lives adjacent to the golf course and has for a long time. And Paul's passion is going out in his backyard and the property that the city owns and working almost every day for free. He mows, he cleans up areas that need attention. If you golf, you probably see him. He's now, I'm gonna say roped, but Bill helps him. Bill Kaufman is now out helping him. They will spend 3 or 4 hours just trying to clean up areas that need the bushes trimmed up, or hauling, he gets on mowers and goes. And Paul wants no recognition, but I just think really that everybody here needs to understand, he works very hard for the golf course. And I'm sure Shannon would echo me, but he's a citizen that we need lots more of.
Yeah.
And he was working prior to the city owning.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
He
yeah.
worked, I mean, he was an
He
Elks
was
member
a
that
great
went out very
volunteer,
frequently
yeah.
and did it, and he just,
Yeah.
he says to me, he's like, I need something to do. I love doing this. So,
Yeah.
But he needs a big pat on the back.
Shannon has mentioned that several times, that he's one of his best volunteers. Yeah, and he calls it
Probably
funny.
one of his best employees. So.
Yeah. Good. Anything else, council-wise? Jim?
And I also have very happy news. We have a need for an infrastructure committee meeting. Is that happy news? But we need to consider a facade grant that has had some changes to the Blackard building right next door to the Stillwell that had been on hold through that construction project, so.
What are we looking at?
Well, if we want to do it next week, the 29th, or, let's see, yeah, the 29th or the 30th.
Either one's fine.
Either one is fine.
I'm available either day.
29th is Tuesday?
It is, yes.
Let's go Tuesday then.
29th at 5:30?
Yeah.
You say,
You're on that one too.
I'm not stuck in a jury trial,
fact, you're
I'll
the
be
boss.
there.
Okay.
Jury.
All right. And then in other notes, if you've noticed, the two houses on Mill Street are down, and so now some cleanup, we're just finishing that part of it up. That area looks nice. And just an update on the pickleball. Gary has been working with Farnsworth Group, and they're reworking a couple of things to get our area assessment finished up, so he should be hearing something from that soon. And then I think another important note to make publicly is there was some talk that voting was going to be moved for precincts 2, 7, and 10. It's going to be here at City Hall. No change, so that's where it normally is. So precincts 2, 7, and 10 will be voting here on November 5th. And that's all I had.
Ward 2 and a precinct.
I assume everybody noticed that the houses on Mill Street are gone. And landscaping, landscaping that needs to be done. But the thing that got me is, did we create a homeless place for?
Jay,
Are you homeless?
I got out just in time for that, just in time.
Before the dozer? All right. Yeah. No plaques are going up, by the way, so. With that, we need a motion to adjourn. So moved. We're adjourned.
This guy down here didn't have anything to say.